But unless you think my grandfather is responsible for your mom having an extremely rare blood type and nearly dying on the transplant list, he's probably in the clear. So your letter doesn't make sense, Avery muttered. What do you think of it? It feels more like a challenge than anything else, Jameson said. Your letter is written in Proverbs. Your grandfather was the devil, Tobias knew, and I was the devil. He knew money and power were dangerous, that he was going to die. Nothing in life is certain but death and taxes. We didn't even know he was sick. The rest, with different circumstances, any of us could have ended up in anyone's position. On the surface, it seems like everything we already know, Avery said. My grandfather died and left everything to me. He reversed the fortune of many. But why? Because power corrupts, Jameson said. And you, are you incorruptible? Is that why he left you everything? Knowing my grandfather, though, there's more here. A play on words. A code. A hidden message. Something. He signed my letter with his initials, and he signed yours with his full name. What do you make of that? Before she could answer, they pulled up to the school. It looked more like an Ivy League campus than a high school. Hate to run, mystery girl, Jameson said. But the last thing you need on your first day is anyone seeing you cozying up with me. When Avery stepped out of the car, the scene was the opposite of what she expected. No whispers, no staring, everyone seemed to be deliberately looking away. She felt more uncomfortable than ever. At the school entrance, a beautiful, black-haired girl approached. I'm Thea. You must be Avery. Why didn't I show you to the office sooner? If Headmaster Dr. McGowan offers you coffee, take it. It's his personal roast, it's to die for. Everyone was staring, but Thea seemed to relish it. How's it living with those boys? She asked. Fine, Avery said, though the truth was far more complicated. There. A whole thing, Thea said knowingly. Before you got here, the Hawthorns were a twisted, broken mess. And after you're gone, they'll still be that way. What do you mean, after I'm gone? Avery asked. Thea didn't answer. Before Avery could question further, the headmaster's office doors burst open. A line of boys poured out, all 4 Hawthorne brothers, bleeding, chaotic, and unmistakably powerful. Xander was one of them. He glanced at Thea. Xander, you look like you lost. There are no losers in Robot Battle Deathmatch Fight Club, okay? There are only winners, and people whose robots kind of explode. That's all. Well, I was just showing Avery to the office and giving her tips for her first day. Charming, isn't she? And did the ever-delightful Thea happen to mention that her uncle is married to my aunt? Zara? Constantine is your uncle? I hear Zara and your uncle are looking for ways to challenge the will. It was clear Xander was warning Avery not to trust Thea. But she shrugged it off. Later, during school, Avery finally got a call back from her friend Max. She slipped away to answer it in one of the empty classrooms. This school treated students like adults. It was strange, you could just leave in the middle of class if your phone rang. No one stopped you. Avery, do you know how many calls I've gotten? A reporter showed up at our house. My mom is locking me down on everything. Wait, what? Reporters want to interview you, about what? About me? Have you not seen the news? No, well, maybe don't. Are you okay? Yeah. I'm fine. I'm fine. I have a whole staff of people who hate me, and the house is like nothing I've ever seen. I have a bodyguard. And I mean, the Hawthorns. The boys have world records, and they all want to kill me. Wait, sorry, I have to go. But text me. And in the meantime, buy yourself something nice. Like what? I don't know. I'll make you a list. We'll get a bite soon. At lunch, Thea practically forced Avery to sit with her, just to gossip more about the brothers. Avery couldn't deny she was intrigued. The Hawthorne brothers, every boy wanted to be them, and everyone who liked boys wanted to date them. The way they looked, the way they acted, even just being Hawthorne adjacent changed how people looked at you. They were like magic. And when you were in their orbit, you felt like magic too. You felt invincible. But they aren't what you think, Avery. I wouldn't want to live in that house with the Hawthorns. Was this her ploy? To get Avery to give up before the year ended, to walk away from her inheritance? Look, think what you want about me, Avery. But the last girl at this school who got tangled up with the Hawthorne brothers, who spent hour after hour in that house, she died. Later, Avery ran into Xander again. Her face was pale, still thinking about Thea's warning. Thea got to you, didn't she? I don't want to talk about her. As it so happens, I hate talking about Thea. Shall we discuss your meeting with Jameson last night? In your room. He showed you his letter, didn't he? Thinks his letter is a clue. You know, I used to lose those Saturday morning puzzles and challenges. I always lost. I was the youngest, the least competitive, always distracted. While my brothers were racing to the finish line, I was sharing my scones with the old man. And he was awfully chatty. He loved stories, facts, contradictions. Want to hear one? What? A contradiction. A fact. He didn't have a middle name. He was born Tobias Hawthorne. No middle name. If I asked you to show me your letter, would you? Where would the fun be in that? Avery couldn't stop thinking. Xander had just given her a clue. Tattersall. His middle name. He wasn't born with it, he'd made it up. Why? When she looked at Jameson's letter again, she noticed the odd spacing in his middle name. It almost looked like Tattersall. Avery texted Alyssa to check that this didn't change the will or mean some kind of mistake. Alyssa replied immediately, legal name change, years ago. We're all good. But why had he changed his middle name? And why Tattersall? It wasn't normal. Tattersall. Almost like ripping all, tatters at all. He left them in tatters. Alyssa added, he changed his name years before the grandsons were born. So, had he already planned to disinherit his family before his grandkids were even born? None of it made sense. Then a text came from Jameson. I got it, mystery girl. Did you? She texted back, don't judge. The only line in the letter that wasn't a proverb. Jameson replied, does don't judge a book by its cover mean anything to you? Very good, Eris. It sure as hell does. The Hawthorne House library had rows upon rows of books. In fact, there were multiple libraries spanning multiple floors. Jameson grinned. My grandfather is rolling in his grave that it took me this long to see it. What exactly do you think we're looking for? Avery asked. What do you think, Avery? Another challenge. If the clue is a book by its cover, then maybe we're looking for either a book or a cover that doesn't match. Open the cover, and the book isn't what it says it is. That makes sense. But there must be thousands of books in here. To look for one that doesn't match its cover, it could take hours. Don't be ridiculous. It could take days. They started working in silence. Most of the books were first editions, signed by authors. Eventually Avery wasn't even shocked anymore. The first time she held a priceless first edition, she felt awe. But now she was like a robot, pulling a book from the shelf, checking the cover, replacing it if it matched, moving on. Jameson, what if we're just wasting our time? Time is money, Eris. And you have plenty to waste. I met a girl at school. Thea. Thea isn't a girl. She's a whirlwind trapped in a hurricane wrapped in steel. What did she say to you? She kept talking about the house. About all of you. And she said there was a girl who died here. Her name was Emily. She wasn't just a girl. Avery was struck by the tone in his voice. It was clear Emily had mattered to him. She still did. Sorry for bringing it up. Sorry that she's gone. We should call it a night. That night, Avery couldn't sleep. She found herself exploring room after room, each one filled to the brim with musical instruments. She touched a violin gently, almost reverently. Grayson appeared in the doorway. You should be careful. I'm not going to break anything. Be careful with Jameson. The last thing my brother needs is you. And whatever this is, whether it's you or the terms of our grandfather's will. My mother hasn't left her room in days. Xander nearly blew himself up at school. Jameson is one bad idea away from ruining his life. And none of us can leave the estate without being hounded by the press. You think that's my fault? That I did this? Do you think I want to be stalked by paparazzi? You want the money. How could you not? Growing up the way you did? Just admit it. Like you don't want the money, growing up the way you did? You have no idea how ill-prepared you are for this world. You don't know me. I will. I'll know everything about you. Whatever you're hiding, I'll find it. Every last secret. Within days I'll have a report on everyone in your life. Your father. Your sister. Your mother. Don't talk about my mother. All I'm saying is stay away from my family, Miss Grams. Or what? What happened to Emily? What happened to you? Grayson paused, his eyes sharp. Don't you dare say her name. You won't last a month in this house. In fact, I'd bet money you're gone in a week. He walked out. Avery realized then that Emily hadn't just meant something to Jameson, she had meant something to Grayson, too. His reaction made that clear. There was something there. But Avery had other things to worry about. The next day, Drake was all over the news, selling his story. Being interviewed. I mean, Avery was kind of a loner, he said. Not saying she's a bad person, but she was desperate for attention, you know? She wanted to matter. A girl like that, with a rich old man? Let's just say she definitely had some daddy issues. Wow. Libby was crying, apologizing non-stop, and talking about ordering flour to bake Avery 100 cookies. Then another interview popped up on the screen, Zara and Sky, perfectly put together, perfectly rehearsed for PR. Our father was a great man who valued family above all else. He was our hero. We will not allow him, in death, to become a victim. We are providing the press with results of a genetic test that concludes Avery Grams is not the result of infidelity on our father's part. Whatever else this girl may be, she is not a Hawthorne. We will be working with elder abuse specialists and the authorities to get to the bottom of this. Avery was furious. Zara hadn't outright called her a con woman, but she'd implied it. Suggesting Avery had manipulated or abused Tobias Hawthorne. She immediately called Alyssa to shut it down. Rest assured, Avery, Alyssa said, calm as ever, this will be handled. What Zara and Sky don't know is that Mr. Hawthorne had a will prior to this one, a will he signed off on every year for decades. In that will, his family was disinherited. So, if this new will were ever declared null and void, which is impossible, the previous will would take effect. Zara and Sky would actually get even less. Their debts wouldn't even be paid. Everything would go to charity. What the hell happened years ago, then? Avery asked. Why did he change his will? That summer, Alyssa explained, Mr. Hawthorne and his wife lost their son. Toby, the youngest of their children. He went to one of the vacation homes, and there was a fire. Toby and 3 other young people died. At least, that's the official story. At the reading of the will, Sky insisted Toby had disappeared between the fire and the storm that night. His remains were never definitively found. But whatever the truth, Mr. Hawthorne never changed his will, until last year. Until you. Alyssa exhaled. Anyway, we have more pressing matters. Libby's mother and Drake. We should consider a one-time payment along with an NDA to prevent them from talking to the press. Avery bristled. Libby's mom doesn't deserve a single penny. She beat Libby every day growing up. Made her feel worthless. Libby would apologize to her after, covered in bruises. That's probably why she puts up with Drake now. And, Alyssa added smoothly, both of you have stylists arriving soon. It will help with the PR nightmare. Avery left to clear her head before the stylists arrived. She went bowling. When she finished her game, a message flashed across the screen, "Welcome to Hawthorne House, Avery Kylie Grams." Who the hell had programmed that? Who even knew it was her playing? Disturbed, she returned to the library, where Jameson was already at work. Grayson was there, too. "Grayson," Jameson drawled, "am I such a delicate flower of a brother that I require your protection and constant supervision?" From her? So it would seem. "What are you two doing?" Grayson asked. "Oh, Eris and I are just following a hunch. Wasting sinful amounts of time on what you'd probably call nonsense." "What hunch?" They filled Grayson in on what they knew. Then Jameson fixed him with a sharp look. "So, what do you say, brother? One last game?" All three of them began pulling books from the shelves. Avery's mind wandered as she worked, wondering if the brothers had always been like this, if Emily had been the reason things between them had changed. Grayson leaned toward Avery, his voice low enough that Jameson couldn't hear. "My brother's grieving. Surely you can understand that. He's a sensation seeker. Pain, fear, joy, it doesn't matter. He needs the rush of the game, something to mean something. And you don't think this means something?" Avery whispered back. "I don't think you have to be the villain of the story to be a threat. You keep insisting you're not a threat to us. Maybe you're not. But I'm not threatened by you, Avery." Before Avery could reply, Jameson interrupted. "Found something." Inside a book, The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus, was a clue. Jameson quoted, "The devil you know, or the devil you don't." Between the pages lay a red piece of glass. "Acetate," Grayson said immediately. "Our grandfather's favorite. If a book was printed in red, you could run this over it. All the red ink would disappear. If there was a hidden message beneath, it would be revealed. But the book was written in black ink." Avery flipped through it anyway, and noticed certain words were circled. Her heart pounded as she pieced them together, page by page, until a message emerged, "Where there is a will." They tried rearranging the words, but it was clear the missing piece was will. The acetate. The will. But the will they had seen had been written in black ink. At least, the one they knew of. Avery asked, "Hey, guys, what do you think the chances are that somewhere there's a copy of your grandfather's will written in red ink?" Alyssa confirmed there was. But before Avery could examine it with the red acetate, she had to go to a meeting with the stylists. It was chaos. This whole experience felt like living inside a massive escape room. Even Libby, now armed with an updated wardrobe, was caught up in it. The stylists had their own vision for Avery. They kept repeating the same words, classic, natural, preppy, but with an edge. Avery rolled her eyes as they circled her, muttering adjustments. "You need to take this seriously," one of them told her. "You're no longer just a girl. The way you dress, the way you do your hair, it isn't silly. It isn't shallow. This isn't just clothing, it's a message. You're not deciding what to wear, you're deciding what story your image tells. Are you young and sweet? Are you someone who dressed her way into this world of wealth and wonder, even though you weren't born into it? Or do you walk the line, relatable, but different?" Avery muttered under her breath. "Or I could just be rich and not care." They ignored her. "If you don't tell the story, Avery, someone else will tell it for you." By the time they were finished, Avery hardly recognized herself in the mirror. "You look fantastic," Xander said, biting into a scone. "You also don't look like someone who might have seduced an old man out of billions, so that's pretty good." Avery laughed. "You're my favorite." "Me too," he said with mock solemnity. While Avery was surviving the stylists, Zara suddenly started being nice. Well, as nice as Zara could be. Avery soon realized why. Zara, her husband Constantine, and Grayson were the heads of the Hawthorne Foundation. Each of them drew an annual salary for their expertise in consulting. And the foundation was responsible for distributing millions of dollars in charitable donations every year. Those funds had to be allocated carefully to make the biggest impact. Zara's sudden civility made sense. She didn't want to be cut from the board. Avery wasn't evil. She didn't want to fire Zara, especially if Zara was genuinely trying to do good with the foundation. They even scheduled a meeting at the foundation's headquarters. For once, Avery felt a spark of genuine excitement. This was something she could be passionate about. Naive or not, she had always wanted to change the world. But when Avery arrived for the meeting, Zara wasn't there. Instead, Grayson was waiting for her in the conference room. The foundation's walls were covered with striking photographs, almost gallery-like. "Did you take those?" Avery asked. Grayson nodded. "My grandfather believed you had to see the world in order to change it. He always said I was the one with the eye." Then he set 2 folders on the table. "As for the background check, do you want to see the results, or would you rather I keep them from you?" Avery held out her hand. "Show me." The first folder contained files on her entire family. Nothing shocking, just what Avery already knew. Nothing useful. The second folder had her name on it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, completely blank. "What is this?" she asked. "It's a record of every purchase you've made since inheriting." Avery frowned. "And?" Grayson met her gaze evenly. "There's nothing. Things have been bought for you, but you haven't spent a dime on yourself." "Not yet." He leaned back, almost grudging. "I want to apologize for being so protective. This family has suffered enough. If it ever came down to choosing between you and them, I would choose them, always, every single time. But, maybe I misjudged you." All because she hadn't gone on a shopping spree. 2 days in, and he thought this proved she wasn't a gold-digging con artist. Avery rolled her eyes. "You're wrong, you know. I did try to spend money, a big chunk. I tried to give it to a friend of mine. A guy I used to play chess with in the park." With that, Grayson began lecturing Avery. The best way to focus on changing the world is not by focusing on a single person without a home. Giving money to individuals does very little. Avery bristled. "It does a lot for those individuals." "You can no longer afford to concern yourself with the individual," he replied. "With the resources you have, Miss Grams, you are now responsible for much more." The rest of the meeting was intense. Their passion clashed, but it was undeniable, they both cared. And honestly? Imagine donating to a nonprofit, only to find out it was run by 2 teenagers with unresolved sexual tension, arguing philosophy in a boardroom. Absolutely ridiculous. Avery was underage. Grayson was a rich boy who thought his mild inconveniences counted as trauma. And yet here he was, lecturing her on how to save the world. They were mid-debate when Grayson's phone rang. He stepped out to answer it. When he came back, his face had drained of color. "Avery," he said tightly, "that was Nash. It's about your sister." The 2 of them rushed to Oren's car, where Alyssa was waiting. "I thought you said you'd taken care of Drake," Avery snapped. "We did," Alyssa replied. "We have a restraining order against him, for both you and your sister." "Then why the hell is he at the gates of Hawthorne House right now?" Thank God Libby was safely inside with Nash, but still, who knew what Drake had been trying to do? The memory of Libby's bruises, her black eye, came rushing back to Avery, burning through her chest like fire. "I can have him removed from the property," Oren offered. But Alyssa shook her head. "No. That would only trigger the press." Avery frowned. "The press?" "There weren't any at the foundation. I thought they were backing off." "Has it not died down?" "If I were a betting man," Oren said grimly, "I'd guess Drake placed a few calls to ensure he had an audience." When they pulled up to the house, Avery saw him, Drake, standing at the gates, putting on a show for the paparazzi. Something in her snapped. "Stop the car," Avery ordered. "I'm getting out." "I would advise you not to do that." "Stay in the vehicle," Grayson said. Beside her, Oren leaned in and whispered, "He's right. You should stay. Don't go out there." "And what would you do?" Avery shot back. "What lengths would you go to in order to protect your own family?" With that, she pushed the door open and jumped out of the car. Oren immediately parked, leapt out after her, and muttered, "As your bodyguard, I'm inclined to warn you that Alyssa is going to kill you for this." Then chaos erupted. Reporters screamed her name from every direction. "Avery, over here. Avery, can we get a word?" Cameras flashed blindingly in her face. Avery drew in a breath, remembering, "Don't just talk. Sell the story. Make them listen." She lifted her chin, squared her shoulders, and declared, "I know why Tobias Hawthorne changed his will. I know why he chose me. And I am the only one who knows the truth. If you ever run another word about that pathetic excuse for a human being behind me, ever again, I will make it my life's mission to ensure you never, ever learn the truth." The crowd went silent. What she had told them was a lie, but she sold it. And Oren had been right, Alyssa was going to kill her for it. Back at Hawthorne House, Avery found Libby in the kitchen, mascara streaked down her cheeks as she frantically iced cupcakes. Watching her, Avery felt both concerned and amused, though she couldn't quite decide which emotion was stronger. When Libby started apologizing, it broke Avery's heart. But there was no time to process that. After the fiasco with the press, Avery had another meeting to face, an angry one, with Alyssa. She endured the full lecture, "If you don't let me do my job. PR damage control. The whole thing." Finally, Alyssa produced something, a copy of the Red Will. "I was instructed to keep this," Alyssa told her, "and to show it to you or the boys if they came looking." Instructed by Tobias Hawthorne, naturally. Alone in the conference room, Avery studied the will. The wording was identical, but everything was printed in red. She placed the red acetate overlay across the page, and the words began to vanish, leaving only the brothers' middle names, Westbrook, Davenport, Winchester, Blackwood. She whispered them again, Westbrook, Davenport, Winchester, Blackwood. They sounded like surnames. But they were middle names. Strange. Perhaps the surnames of their fathers? She didn't know. What struck her most was that all the boys had taken the Hawthorne name, even though children usually bore their fathers. How much did the brothers really know about their fathers? Or even about their own middle names? Determined to share the discovery, Avery hurried to find Jameson. On the way, she was intercepted by Nash. "Whoa, kid. What's the rush?" he asked. "Do you know where the solarium is?" "I'm supposed to meet Jameson there, but honestly, I don't even know what a solarium is." "They're overrated," Nash replied with a half-smile. "But I'll show you." As they walked, Nash asked, "So, tell me, what do you usually do on your birthday?" "Eat cake," Avery admitted. "Every year on our birthdays," Nash said, "the old man would call us into his study and say the same three words: invest, cultivate, create. Then he'd hand us $10,000. We'd each choose a talent or interest to cultivate for a year, no expenses spared. If you picked piano, a grand piano would show up the next day. Private lessons started immediately. By mid-year, you'd be backstage at Carnegie Hall, learning from the best. But there was always a challenge, too, something we were expected to create before the next birthday. Something extraordinary." "That doesn't sound horrible," Avery said. "It doesn't, does it? Did Jameson tell you about the weekly riddles?" Sometimes, at the beginning of the game, the old man would lay out a collection of objects, a fishing hook, a price tag, a glass ballerina, a knife. By the time the puzzle was solved, damned if you hadn't used them all. "You were the oldest?" Yeah. Jamie and Gray teamed up against me, and then double-crossed each other at the end. That's how it always went. Nash paused. Why am I telling you this? Because you might think you're playing the game, but that's not how Jamie sees it. That's not how Jameson ever sees it. You're not a player, kid. You're the glass ballerina. Or the knife. A tool. But not a player. She doesn't need to play your stupid game, Avery snapped. She won the game. With that, she stepped into the solarium and found Jameson, drunk. Sky doesn't talk about our fathers, he slurred. As far as she's concerned, it's like an Athena-Zeus situation. Hers. Hers alone. She never told us a thing about them. Follow me. He whisked Avery into the tunnels of Hawthorne House until they reached a dead end. They crouched close together, too close for Avery's comfort, until Jameson prepared to knock. Wait, Avery said. Are you confronting your mom right now? I don't need to be here for this. I need you, Jameson insisted. I don't know why yet. But I do. Am I wrong? You've been talking to my brothers, Grayson, Xander. Am I just using you? Just a means to an end? No, Jameson said quietly. You're the puzzle, mystery girl. You could tap out, live without the answers. Or you could get them. With me. Fine, Avery said. Let's get some answers. The door swung open. It led directly into Sky's bathroom, grand enough for a Roman emperor. She lounged in the bathtub, covered only by a scattering of bubbles. You said you were decent, Mother, Jameson muttered. I'm covered in bubbles. Now, son, tell me what you need. Or better yet, leave me alone with your delightful little friend. I need my middle name. Jameson said, ignoring her. Where did it come from? Sky smirked. I'll answer, after a private word with Avery. And just like that, Avery was alone in the room with Jameson's mother, half-naked and veiled only in bubbles. I forgive you, Sky said first. I didn't ask you to. You'll continue to support me financially. A modest sum each year. Why would I give you anything? Because I'm their mother. Now, what are your intentions with my son? Excuse me? You waltzed in here with my shirtless, grieving boy. A mother has concerns. Jamie is special. Brilliant, the way my father was, the way Toby was. Toby? Avery asked. What happened to him? My father ruined him. Spoiled him. Toby was always meant to be the heir. Once he was gone, it was just Zara and me. And then, the boys. She leaned forward. Do you know why Jamie was my father's favorite, when by all rights it should have been Grayson? It wasn't because Jamie was brilliant or beautiful. It was because he's hungry. He's been searching since the day he was born. Grayson was born everything Toby wasn't. And Jameson? He's just like him. He'll always get lost, and you're just another way to get lost. That's all you are. Emily was the same. They would have loved her whether she was beautiful or plain. But you are not Emily. And the middle names? Avery pressed. My father chose them, Sky said simply. Another dead end. That night, Jameson returned to Avery's room and whisked her to the garage. Rows of hypercars gleamed under the lights, Bugattis, Aston Martins, every car imaginable. Speed helps you get out of your own head, Jameson said. Together, they slipped into an Aston Martin and drove to a racetrack that should not have been open at 3 a.m, but somehow was. For the first time since the reading of the will, Avery felt free. When they returned, reality crashed back in. Orrin was furious. Drone footage of their midnight escapade had leaked. Paparazzi camped outside. Rumors swirled, Avery dating a Hawthorne brother, gasoline on the fire. The next morning, Orrin drove Avery and Xander to school. Your brothers got the same letter from Tobias, Avery asked Xander. They did. Grayson and Jameson. I know you got one too. Maybe I did. But hypothetically, if I were playing this game, and if, just this once, I wanted to win, I'd want to do it my way. With that, they walked into science class. Xander was playing the game, too. When you say they're playing the game, Avery thought, they're trying to figure out why their grandfather left everything to me. And she was right, several of the brothers suspected that at the end of the game there might be a way to challenge or even overturn the will. It was lab day, and there were only 2 empty seats, one beside Thea, and another next to the most beautiful girl in the entire school. She had striking red hair, ghostly pale skin, and an almost otherworldly allure. She looked like she belonged in a fairy tale. But one of the darker one. The kind where the heroine dies at the end. What's her story? Avery wondered. Why doesn't anyone talk to her? Has she been outcast? Bullied? Xander leaned in and answered matter-of-factly. Her story involves star-crossed love, fake dating, heartbreak, tragedy, twisted family ties, and a hero for the ages. He sat beside Thea, leaving the mysterious girl as Avery's only option. Avery slipped into the seat next to her. I'm Avery. Rebecca Laughlin, the girl replied without looking up. My parents work at Hawthorne House. I know who you are. The Laughlins. Avery remembered, the family who lived on the estate and ran it. Rebecca pulled out her iPad. The cover showed a picture of her with another girl, similar eyes, but different. This girl was less conventionally beautiful, with strawberry blonde hair, but she radiated a kind of magnetic charm that was impossible to ignore. Is that your twin sister? Avery asked cautiously. She was, Rebecca corrected softly. She died. Avery's ears flushed red. Emily? Yes. Rebecca's eyes flickered, but her tone stayed steady. She would have been very interested to meet you. From that moment on, Avery couldn't stop thinking about Emily, the strawberry blonde hair, the green eyes, the way her presence seemed to haunt everything. But she didn't have time to dwell. On Rebecca's screen was also a map of the Hawthorne estate, the grounds, the gates, an area marked the Black Wood, and a bridge labeled Westbrook. The realization struck, the middle names weren't just names. They were places on the estate. Later, back at the house, Avery's secret passage door swung open. Jameson stepped out. I saw your little press conference with Drake, he teased. Less of a press conference and more of a bad idea, Avery muttered. Have I ever told you I'm a sucker for bad ideas? His grin was dangerous. What do you want, Jameson? You lied to the press, he said casually. What you told them, it wasn't true, was it? Of course it was a lie. I don't know why your grandfather left me everything. He studied her. It's hard to tell with you sometimes. You're not exactly an open book. Ask me what I figured out about our middle names. You don't have to, Avery replied. I solved it too. They're places. At least the first 2, Blackwood and Westbrook. I haven't figured out the rest yet. Good. His eyes lit with mischief. Feel like going on a walk, Eris? They ended up in the Blackwood. The Blackwood is massive, Jameson said, his voice carrying a storyteller's cadence. Finding anything in here would be impossible, unless we knew exactly what to look for. But the brook? That's easier. This way. They reached the bridge. This is where my grandfather proposed to his wife, Jameson explained. Westbrook. It's near Wayback Cottage, where the Laughlins live. Emily's grandparents. I spoke with Rebecca, Avery admitted. No one at school talks to her, Jameson said. Correction. Rebecca doesn't talk to anyone. She hasn't in months. She was always the shy one, the responsible one. Her parents expected her to make good choices. Emily was different. She had a congenital heart condition. Her parents were overprotective, never let her be a kid. When she was 16, she had a heart transplant. After that, she decided she wanted to live, not just survive, but live. You took her driving? There was nothing we didn't do. His tone shifted. What happened to her? Did she live at the cottage? Grayson happened to her, Jameson said darkly. What do you mean? Let's play a game, Avery. I'll give you one truth about my life and two lies. You decide which is which. Isn't it normally two truths and a lie? She asked. Where's the fun in that? Fact 1, I knew what was in my grandfather's will long before you showed up. Fact 2, I'm the one who sent Grayson to fetch you. Fact 3, I watched Emily Laughlin die. Avery didn't answer. He didn't expect her to. But the tightening in his throat as he spoke the last sentence told her which one she would have guessed. By then, they had reached the bridge. To avoid the weight of his words, Avery focused on searching. They checked the bridge from end to end, even underneath it, with Jameson holding her dangerously far over the edge. Avery wasn't sure how Oren had just stood by through all of this. He'd been walking through the woods with them, he was never not around her. If she had fallen, maybe the drop hadn't been that big, or maybe the water underneath had been deep. Either way, it had been overwhelming. Feeling defeated while searching for more clues, Jameson started pacing, and then, creak. The same wooden board groaned every time he stepped on it. They rushed over, dropped to their knees, and pried it open. After some nail-breaking effort, they managed to lift it. Carved into the underside of the wood was the infinity symbol, or maybe an 8. Neither of them could decide which. Neither of them slept easily that night either. What did it mean? Still, at least they were heading in the right direction. It was starting to feel more and more like a game. The next morning before school, Avery couldn't help thinking, what billionaire has this kind of time? But she loved it. She really did. The whole thing was elaborate, unexpected, and unapologetically itself. It wasn't pretending to be something it wasn't, the way so many YA thrillers tried to be adult thrillers. This one embraced its YA nature, and nailed it. That night, Avery checked on Libby and found Nash asleep on the couch. The thing about Nash was that he loved fixing broken women. He treated them like projects, convinced he could save them. Avery called him out, quietly but firmly, for treating her sister like she needed rescuing. Then she left for school, where Alyssa was waiting in the car. Make sure your schedule is open the next 2 weekends, Alyssa instructed. This weekend is a pink ribbon fundraiser. The next weekend, there's an NFL game. A game you own, technically. Hopefully, those outings will give the gossip mill something to chew on. Before then, I'll run you through some media training. Great. Life was just fantastic. Wasn't it supposed to be fun, being a teenage billionaire? At school, Thea approached her. You did a thing. I saw the pictures of you and Jameson. Do you really know why Tobias Hawthorne left you everything? The whole school is talking about that too. The whole school can talk all they want, Avery replied. You don't like me much, do you? Thea smirked. That's fine. I'm a hyper-competitive bisexual perfectionist who likes to win. And I look like this. I'm used to being hated. I don't hate you, Avery said. Good. Because we're about to spend a lot more time together. My parents are out of town, so my uncle and aunt are taking care of me, and I'll be moving into Hawthorne House. I thought you didn't like Hawthorne House. Contrary to popular belief, Avery, I don't always do what I want. Besides, Emily was my best friend. After what happened last year. Let's just say when it comes to the charms of the Hawthorne brothers, I'm immune. Xander, who had been eavesdropping, walked over. If you're going head-to-head with Thea, you'd better be prepared. I'm not going head-to-head with anyone, Avery protested. Dinner that evening was painfully awkward. Miss Laughlin's had gone all out, and it was clear even the staff preferred Thea to Avery. Zara broke the silence. Thea, how's field hockey? Undefeated this season? The conversation quickly shifted to Thea's sharpness. If I were a boy, people would call me driven, she said with a smirk. Thea, her uncle Constantine interrupted, please. No feminism at the dinner table. Sky lifted her glass. A toast, then. To Avery. The message was clear, there was no point challenging the will. Avery might be the enemy, but she was also the one with the money. To you, heiress, Jameson added. And to Emily, Thea said as she stood. May she rest in peace. The reaction was immediate. Jameson stormed out. Grayson looked as if he had seen a ghost. Constantine was displeased. Later, Grayson warned Avery, if you were smart, you'd stay away, from Jameson, from the game, from me. This family destroys everything we touch. Back to the clues, Westbrook was already crossed off. Now only Blackwood remained. Avery walked quietly through the forest with Jameson. Do you know how many trees 4 acres can hold, heiress? He asked. Enough for a healthy forest. In Blackwood, twice that. I've been marking each one I check. They worked in silence, taping trees that held no answers. We're not the only ones searching, Jameson muttered. I saw Grayson with a map earlier. And Thea, she won't leave me alone unless she's bothering Xander. Thea holds grudges? They dated. The breakup was ugly. They dated? Thea is practically your cousin. Constantine's only Zara's second husband. The marriage is recent. And Xander, well,